Hello, my name is Susi Hately and I'm the founder of Functional Synergy Therapeutic Yoga, and this is a conversation about the mind-body connection. I think if someone is going through pain, whether it's yourself or whether you have a student who's going through pain, I think it's important for you or them to have an exploration in the mind-body connection. I find that so often in our culture, physical issues tend to be packaged and contained as just that, physical issues. And in my 13 years of teaching therapeutic yoga, I have yet to see someone who hasn't made a gain mentally, emotionally, or spiritually when they've also made a physical gain. I just don't think it's possible to have one without the other. I love what Candace Pert has to say. She says, the body is your subconscious mind. I also really like what the Hoffman process has to say, which is what your mind suppresses, your body expresses. It's a very contemporary approach to looking at the mind-body connection, and I think it's a great way to start the exploration. When I'm working with students, these are a few things that I work with. One is a concept called the is versus ought conversation. And what I often find when people come in is they'll be talking about all the things they ought to be able to do and they can't. And through the process of our first session together, we start to recognize what really is, what is reality, what's real about their movement now. And invariably what starts to happen is they begin to see the difference or the spread between what is and what ought. And then there's this big old problem in the middle. And I have to remind them, part of my job in a sense is that I have to remind them that if they keep pushing for what they ought without taking care of what is, then they're actually never going to get to ought. And they're just going to mess up what is even further. And if they actually work with and resolve what is, they're actually going to get to ought a heck of a lot faster. And so that process really helps to settle their mind. And as they settle their mind, their body also starts to settle and they're able to absorb a lot of the movements that I'm showing them. And what's cool is their progress towards what their goals are happens a heck of a lot faster. The other piece that I often share with my clientele is this notion that this is all about progress. Oftentimes I'll have someone who comes in and they've got quite a lot of the body diagram that I get them filled out. So the body diagram is a sheet that they fill out on the body where they've got pain, tension, or tightness. And it's not uncommon for a lot of the body to be covered. And so I'll typically ask, what do you want to resolve first, and what's second or what's third if there's that many on the sheet, and what's fourth, and so on. And they'll choose one. And so that's where we'll start. And we'll begin there and we'll carry through. And then they'll come back and they'll say to me, yeah, well, my back's feeling great now, but boy, my shoulder, whoa. So I have to remind them, again, part of my job is, well, you were here when you first came in, and your goal was the resolution of number 1. And so you actually got from point A to point B. But the thing is because they've experienced all this success, they're at point B, they forget about this, but now it's like, that's now point B over here. So they only see this, the horizon has changed. So I have to remind them what's gone on here to help again settle their mind so that it's really easy for them to go from this new point A to the next goal. So again, it's all about the settling of the mind and recognizing the role the mind plays in either helping us or hindering us in our progress. The third one that I have to offer is a little bit more esoteric, I'll admit, and it has to do with using your body as a barometer. And I'll use an example from my own experience to open this one up a little bit. On December the 26th, 2010, so just a few months ago, I was carrying a box of files down the stairs, and I fell, and I landed smack on my coccyx, so the very bottom of my spine, the very bottom of my tailbone. I landed flat, square on that, and I made a mess of myself. I sprained my coccyx, and I created just a horrible situation in my body. Now, over the period of time, my healing has been quite textbook, right through that first 3-week acute phase, and then onward past that stage through, like, as I progress. And I think I might be at week 15 or week 16 now in the healing, and I'm now back skiing. I'm progressing through my yoga practice so that I'm doing a modified hatha practice now. I'm able to walk 3 miles. I can't run yet. I can't do a flow style practice yet, but I'm getting there. And so slowly but surely I'm progressing and moving back to the full function that I recall. And it's been a really interesting journey and a really interesting process for me, because early on, and even as we've carried through, but particularly early on, I would notice these thought patterns that were going through my head, and I mean, basically they were complaints, and they were complaints about my situation, or about life, or the life, and I was, and even though those complaints, I was so certain that I was right in my mind about those complaints, I could feel that the tissue, the muscles and the fascia in and around my coccyx would really tug hard, and it would be painful. And I started to notice a connection between what I was thinking and what my body was experiencing. And even though I knew I was right about those complaints, there was an incongruency with my body, because the impact of those thoughts on my body was really quite remarkable. And so I sat there with myself thinking, wow, what compels me more? To be caught up in what I think to be true about these thoughts, or am I caught up and compelled to get back skiing, to get back to my yoga mat, to get back walking, to get back running? Like, what's more my interest? And I'm like, well, that one's easy. I am compelled to go this direction. And I looked up at that one and I said, okay, that's no longer serving me. And so I gotta let that go. And it was really as simple as that, because I could feel the impact on my physical structure. And I carried on, and then lo and behold, some more of these complaints came up. So overall, it's been this really awesome experience of spring cleaning in my mindset, and as I compel myself forward with my program towards greater and greater function. So it's not for the faint of heart, and I will admit that you've got to have a certain level of awareness in your body, and you've got to be prepared to really have a very truthful look at some of those things that you might believe to be true, and be willing to really kind of look at the garbage that might be circulating up in those ruminations. Now, how I tend to apply this with my students is to help them recognize when they have tension, and if that tension has a relationship to some kind of thought pattern. And for the ones who can start to get that connection, they are now more able to utilize their body as this barometer, or to use their body as this mode of intuition, to be able to sense what's going on even more so around in their environment, which is really quite a powerful place to play. It's quite astonishing, really. So what I encourage you to do, and something you can try on for yourself, is as you're experiencing sort of the ups and downs of the pain levels that are in your body, consider when you're up and when things are feeling good and smooth, what else is going on, whether it's the ruminations in your brain or external events. And then when things aren't so good, maybe when it's more rough and tough, what are the thoughts and the ruminations going on in your brain at that point? And then you can start to see the relationship between what's going on in your brain and your mind versus your body. And then you start to develop more and more patterns and links between the two, and to see the power in recognizing that. So if you're game to play, give it a whirl, because it truly is quite a powerful and awesome experience. So to summarize, play also around with this notion of your body is your subconscious mind, or what your mind suppresses, your body expresses, and and explore this notion. And really, I really encourage you to have fun with it, because it's not about making us wrong or blaming us or anything like that. It's more about recognizing the relationships, or recognizing the coincidence or the conditions or the context with where we find ourselves, and how our thoughts can impact our physical state and our physiology. So with that, explore, have fun, add a comment below if you'd like, and then we'll see you at the next video clip. Take care.